Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Matthew and Mike and Bowls Breakdown podcast. And today, episode 14, we are delighted to, for certainly for me, the voice of Bowls, Mr. John Price. John, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Delighted to be here, Mike. It's great.
So, we have got lots of questions lined up. So,
quite a few to go through. I mean, you're an illustrious career from the man sitting next to me. So, yes, we've obviously got quite a bit to talk about.
Yeah, and the last episode I was without Matthew, so I was a bit unstructured because I tend to go all over the place, John. So
you're going to hit me from both sides today.
But we'll start where we always start, really. Where did it all begin?
Well, with me, it's family-based, really. My grandfather's both bowled. My mother's father, Joe Rees, was a Glamorgan County president back in the day. So there was a link there, and my dad started playing when he finished football, and he was secretary of the Port Talbot Ynys Club in the 1960s. So I used to be on the end rink, rolling up with my carpet bowls. Mum was making the tea, and Dad would be playing. Number one up in the Ynys was my sort of rink, I'd be there. And if they could carry in reserves, the other team, they'd come on and have a little game with me, So that's where I got interested. And obviously, you're doing other things when you're young, as you all know, you do other sports and whatever. But bowls had always been strong within the family, and that's how it started for me, really.
And how old were you then, John?
Well, gosh, I got a picture of myself on the green at about 2.5 to 3. But I started playing. I had a friendly for the Ynys back in, maybe 1971. So I'd be about 10, 11. Because in those days, there was no junior bowls. Right. Obviously slightly different today. There's lots of pathways, but in those days, nothing, no junior bowls. I wasn't able to play competitions until I was 14. They dropped the age down from 17 to 14. Right. But at 10, 11, Dad used to put me in for friendlies. So if we went to Weston-super-Mare for a friendly, I'd have a game, and sometimes we'd play in Britain Ferry Steel pre-season, and I have a game with them. Yeah. So I always played a lot. My grandfather Price, ex-docker, used to be over the park, good footballer, sportsman in his time. He used to say, come over after school, and then he'd put a couple of quid down with some of the old guys, and I used to play them for money. And that's how I learned the game, really, I'd be playing for £1 or something like that.
You got rich quite young then, John.
Yeah, I won a fair bit of cash. He'd take half of it for his betting down the bookies, and I'd keep the rest. But, yeah, I mean, there's always been that link, that family link,
Right. So... First club was Port Talbot Ynys.
Yeah, it was.
And how long did you stay there for then, John?
We stayed there. My father and myself moved in 1980, just after, 81 actually. The first year we left, went to Aberavon because we lived opposite the Vivian Park where Aberavon played. Right. So I'd always bowled on that green, and it was probably a slightly better green than the Ynys at that time. Mm-hmm. And we went there. The first year we went there, we won the Welsh outdoor pairs together. So it was good. From my father's point of view, he was doing a lot of work up the Ynys. He was a shift worker in the steelworks, didn't have a lot of time to bowl, and he decided, it was easier for him just to go across to the park, and we played out there. But we always retained membership in the Ynys, and recently I've gone back to the Ynys, sort of end off my career there,
right,
really.
Okay. No, you're not ending your career.
Well, near enough. But yeah, it's come full circle, really. Yeah. But we were at, I think it was 1980 we left the Ynys, so 81 would have been our first full season with Aberavon, and I stayed there then until 2 years ago.
Okay. So, success-wise, when did that start coming around for you? At what age sort of was that when you sort of realised, I'm good at this and I can go a bit further with this?
Yeah, probably in the sort of mid-70s. I used to enter some of the open tournaments. I mean, at that time, Mike, there was a lot of tournaments around this area. I mean, Porthcawl, 2 weeks, massive event, huge event. We used to have Ynys tournament, Britain Ferry, which still goes on.
Yeah, it does.
And skewing. So the 5 weeks of the school holidays, really, Dad used to enter me in the tournaments. That's when I played most of my bowls. I didn't play national comps at that time because of school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I was doing at that time, playing during the summer, no indoor in those days. And so I learned the game, really. And I had a bit of success, got through to some quarterfinals in the Ferry, at quite a young age. And I made the county team in 77. Funnily enough, playing with my future father-in-law. He was the skip.
Right, okay.
Aidan Mize and Pontarliven. And I didn't know Anne then. I'd never met Anne. But I'd known Aidan for years, obviously, since I was a kid, because he knew my father quite well. And what had happened was, Porthcawl in those days, I don't know if you knew, the county championship in those days used to be on a Saturday.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
So you'd have to pull out of your club or anything. And the previous year, William Thomas, who was a bit older than me, William had got to the semi-final in Porthcawl and withdrawn from the county. They were in the final to play Porthcawl semi. singles, and they banned him the following year.
Right.
So I came in really as a bit of a replacement, I suppose, for Will, because I went in Will's spot, I think, as a lead, you know, at that time. And I played through the season then, and with Aidan, we got to the county final, lost to South Glamorgan, I always remember, in Waterton Cross in Bridgend, the police ground.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, don't think that green exists now.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's right. So we played the county final, South Glamorgan there, 77, and I had a Welsh trial the following year outdoors. Didn't make the team. It was a few years before I made the outdoor team. But that's really when things started to mushroom a little bit, you know, and had a bit of success. And me and Dad won Llanelli pairs, and I won a couple of pairs tournaments, and then it won under 35 singles, and it sort of mushroomed from there.
Yeah.
You know, late 70s.
So, coming into the Welsh setup, how old were you when you started doing all of this?
Indoors, I got a cap. First cap, I was 18.
Okay.
79.
And that was what? And then, was that an under 18s then, or was it?
No, full team.
Full team.
Yeah,
It
full
wasn't
team.
under 18s. It was under 35s. So full, wasn't it?
Well, the under 25s didn't start math till 1981. Because the outdoor under 25s didn't come into being. I think the indoor came in after that. Back in the day, in the 60s, the under 35s was the junior event.
Actually, I played for Pembrokeshire under 35 way back when I played first of all.
Yeah, exactly. So. That was the main event in those days. Yeah. So, yeah, I broke in. I'll tell you what happened, actually, because we started in Swansea, the old Swansea indoor, down by the leisure centre. And I was in the team, and the trials were picked, and they were playing on a Sunday. And there was a guy who played in Swansea, Di Price, from Llanelli, good lead, very good lead. He was picked for the trial. I was one of the reserves. And Di was a deacon.
Right.
Very religious, did not play on Sunday. Lovely man, but would not play on Sunday. And he withdrew, and they put me in. And I had a good trial, and I made the second trial in Llynyssion, in the old Cardiff Stadium. I played with the late, great Russell Evans and Len Webley. And Mal Bishop was the number 2. And we had a good win again, and they put me in the final squad. And that's how I sort of broke in. I didn't get in the team. I got in as a reserve for Aberdeen, 79, and I got capped the last game. They made changes. They hadn't done very well. Okay. And they made changes, and I came in lead for Raymond Hill in the last game.
You've got a good memory, John, because I can't remember that far back.
Yeah, that sticks. You know, certain things stick in your mind, you know, and that probably that season was a bit of a, I didn't expect it to get in. I wasn't overly playing that much, really. I was playing, putting a bit of time in, but not all the time, you know what I mean? And I just got lucky. I think if Di Price had played, I probably wouldn't have made the trial. And
gone on.
Yeah, just went on from there, really.
And things happen like that often, don't they?
Yeah,
you just
fate, isn't it?
Sometimes?
Yeah, it
is,
yeah, fate sometimes, isn't it, you know?
I feel like we can just go decade by decade with how much you've done.
I'm showing my age now, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, at that time there was no junior bowls, so you know you couldn't there was no pathway really through, and you learnt your game by going into the senior game, really, you know.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, you look back at some of the big names in bowls, you know, especially from the UK, around us, and a lot of them are kind of 60s, 70s, and then you've got a handful then coming through, you know, the last 10, 20 years or so.
Yeah. You know, I'm back new in bowls. I was down in Pendine. I played for 4 years when I was young, and then I played rugby and I work in. Come back to bowls now. I think going back, I hear a lot about some great players in the past.
Yeah.
Do you think that the game has changed at all, John, over that period of time?
Well, it's definitely changed, Mike. I mean, cosmetically it's changed. I think for a lot of good things it's changed for. I'm not one of these that believes you can stay, you've got to move forward all the time. And certainly you look at the dress, it's more relaxed now. There's a lot of good things. I mean, I remember going down to Llanelli Thomas Arms, the private club in Llanelli, and playing for the Ynys. I was 14, I think. It was the first season. Played the game and wasn't allowed in the clubhouse after the game for the tea. My dad had to bring sandwiches out to me. I sat on the seat.
Right.
So you can see how things have moved on, isn't it? Right. You know. So yeah, a lot of good things. You know, it's more integrated for the youngsters. There's a lot of good pathways, and I think that's a big help. If I picked on one thing, I think it was more. The greens were slightly better outdoors when I started.
Okay.
I think they were better, tricky, but a better pace. There's a lot of greens now which have a lot of grass on them, and a lot of young players starting off outdoors think that outdoor bowls is just sending them up as hard as you can up the middle, which is not.
Yeah.
So I think there has been a deterioration in some of the surfaces, and that's caused by we could say the councils withdrawing money in
Yeah.
a lot of areas. You know the score on that.
Same.
So that's a bit disappointing, though they are coming back slowly now. They're starting to improve in a lot of areas now,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of good things that have happened, and I think it is much better now. It's a lot easier for youngsters to get on a pathway to get to the top level than maybe it was when I was just starting, you know, when it was a little bit close shop.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got a lot more people now, I think, doing more for the sport of bowls. You know, and you see it across the world, and hopefully it does get to us in Wales at some point, that more and more organisations are jumping the wagon and trying to get bowls to be that, you know, to keep bowls around and make it more, you know, what they did with a lot of sports growing up. You know, you look at, I'd use women's football as an example, right? Women's football 10, 15 years ago, you had no participation, and now there's just as many women playing football as there is men.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're looking at a similar kind of pathway to that with bowls. You're getting bowls into an area where, like you said, more kids are interested, more kids are playing, and they feel comfortable playing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to, and we've talked about it a couple of times on the podcast with other people, you don't want a 12, 13-year-old coming to a bowls club and saying you have to wear shirt and tie and dress this certain way, and because as soon as their friends find out, they'll be like, what the hell are you?
It's peer pressure, isn't it? Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, so 18 was that first breakthrough then, John?
Indoors, that was indoor international.
Okay, and where did it sort of go from? So, go back a bit. Indoor, when did indoor start for you then? Because obviously you said when you first started there was no indoor.
Well, there was clinician in Cardiff, the original clinician, which fell down under the snow of 81.
Okay.
And Rhondda had just built, and I think Merthyr. But we didn't go to those, obviously, when I was 15, 16.
Yeah.
We went, and Swansea opened 77,
Right.
77, 78. So, you know, that was the first really season for me during that winter, really playing a bit indoors.
Okay, so you developed in then, played in the full Welsh team indoor at 18. When did the outdoor success then? Because that couldn't have been long after following, I would have
It
thought.
was 6 years, actually. I got...
Was it?
I had trials, I said, outdoors in 77 and 78 as a 16, 17-year-old, but I didn't then. I got to try. Me and Dad won the Welsh pairs in 81, and we won the British Isles pairs in 82. So I had a trial the following year, didn't make the team. And then we won the Welsh triples, and I had another trial the following year, and I think I might have got reserve. I don't know. I can't really remember that. But I didn't get capped until 84 in LAN. That was my first cap.
Okay.
So I was 23 going 24.
So we went out to Ireland for that. And
Yeah, LAN in Ireland, and I played with a gentleman, dead and gone now, John Anstey. He was my first skip. That lovely man. Great man. His son used to play as well, Mark. From Aberavon. Very good, very good. Great guy to play with, and that was my first series.
Okay.
And that was pretty much kind of, obviously you talked about the British Isles Championship, you won the pairs, I believe, with your father.
Yep, that's right, yeah.
And that must have been kind of a special moment for both of you.
Yeah, I think it was. I think particularly because I think, and I might be wrong in saying this, you'd have to check this, but I think there's only two pairs, father and sons, have won the British Isles pairs, and they're both Welsh. Norman Harris and Ron Harris from Porthcawl. Norman Harris printers, you probably know.
Yeah.
They won it, I think, in the 70s, and me and Dad won it in 81. There may be somebody else, but I'm certainly, there's no other Welsh, but I don't think there's anybody else, father and son, that may have won it. You'll have to check that.
Funny enough, our last episode, we had a mother and daughter.
Alice, and that's right. Yeah.
Mother and daughter who won it,
exactly.
Alice and Anne.
Yeah, that's right, which again is unusual. You don't get often see that, you know. Yeah. But yeah, great time. My father played out of his skin, to be fair to him. He was on top of his game at that time, and I just tagged along. But yeah, it was great times.
I want to stay with your dad a minute.
Yeah,
because I want to put the shout out for your foundation.
All right, yeah.
Right, okay, because recently you've started a bit of a foundation. Can you tell us a little, and people that might be listening, about the foundation?
Yeah, well, my father loved his bowls and whatever, and Dad died, though he didn't die of COVID, he died during COVID. There was no real celebration, you know, very limited funeral and whatever. And I sat down last sort of year, Christmas, and thought we could do something linked with, obviously, my background in bowls and him. So we're trying to get a foundation. It's very slow at the moment, Mike. We've had a few supporters, but we're going to try and do something later in the season as we got a special event, special game.
Okay.
And then moving into the winter, maybe start arranging things going into 2026 as regards maybe a dinner and whatever, and to raise money. And the idea would be possibly then to have a foundation sort of award given to future young bowler in Wales,
Okay.
up and coming.
Yeah.
So we're in the process. It's sort of dragged on a little bit recently because I've been doing other things
Yeah.
as
Busy
these
man.
things happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I'm spending this year. I've looked at it and whatever. We hope to have the website up and running, which isn't quite ready to go yet. So I was
Okay.
hoping to sort of start that off. But we're thinking maybe a good time will be going into the indoor season now
Yeah.
and get it going for the next.
So
few
at the
years.
moment, anybody who listens to this podcast, John, is there any way they can go at the moment
Well,
to find that?
there's limited things, but I will be putting something out on the website when the website is up and running. But
Okay.
there are, if you go in on the Facebook Foundation page, there are some details if you wanted to make any sort of contribution.
Okay.
What we intend doing is maybe looking at an independent panel once we're organised to say whether the young bowlers in Wales who deserves maybe an award. You know, so, and then we would probably do a celebration night, you know, at a particular venue,
Yeah.
and maybe some entertainment and whatever, get a speaker
Lovely.
and all that. And
Okay.
that's the plan anyway. But we're very fledgling at the moment, Mike, and it's taken about 6 months to even get it rock and rolling.
I
know?
don't. Who's doing this Facebook page for
Yeah,
you, John? Because
yeah.
I don't manage. You're the most
So,
techie and
You're quite right. That's right. But my son-in-law is hopefully going to be doing the webpage. But he's had a bit of an accident recently,
Okay.
so he's out of work at the moment. So he's been tied up. So I'm sort of situation at the moment. We've hit a bit of a stop
Okay.
in the road.
All
But
right.
certainly, as we're going on, Mike,
Yeah.
you know, I'd obviously be letting
Yeah.
people know. But we're looking forward to trying to build it over the next 2 or 3 years.
Lovely.
You know, and us at Paul's Breakdown, we're always going to be supporting that as much as we can for you, John. You know,
Thank
we're
you,
big.
Matthew.
Obviously, you know, we're maybe not doing the same charitable stuff you are, but we're still trying to raise
Yes,
awareness for
that's
bowls,
right,
and that's
yeah.
kind of what it's all
So
about.
on the
for
back
us,
of
so.
that, we'll say, John, you've got a Facebook page out there.
Yeah,
I think the photo on it is your dad with you as a little child.
yeah, I
Is
think
that
it
right?
is. Yeah.
So
yeah,
if people
yeah.
see that and
Yeah,
people
that's
saying
right.
join
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it is John Price.
Yeah,
It is
yeah, that's right.
what
Yeah.
is it? The John Price
Foundation.
John
but
Price
yeah,
Foundation
yeah,
on
that's right.
on
Yeah,
Facebook.
Yeah.
John, I will already commit £50 a year
Oh,
from
my
Bowls
goodness
Breakdown
me.
podcast
All
into
right.
your foundation.
Okay.
So you will have £50 a year from us
Thank you
as
very
long
much.
as that foundation
Thank you
is
very
going.
much. And we'll certainly involve you in all any events that are going on. But
Yeah.
I think that it'll do well once we're up and running,
Yeah.
because I've had support from around the UK, and you know, we've had support through you might know Michael Kent used to be from
Yeah,
the agenda,
yeah,
Michael and Ian Staff, David
Yes,
Sutton-Mercer,
staff's good.
and various people have supported me so far.
Yeah.
So it's building at the moment, but obviously we need to keep it moving now going into
Yeah.
the winter. And certainly in the summer, I was hoping to do something up at the Ynys at some point,
Yeah.
you know, pending calendar of events. Matt.
Calendar of events. The
You know,
summertime is packed.
It's a nightmare, isn't it? You know,
I know.
because we'd like to get, you know, as many interesting names as we could to come
Yeah.
down and whatever, and maybe do
Okay.
something afterwards as well. you
John,
know.
when that's on, you'd let us know. We'll
Okay.
we'll
Yeah,
we'll announce it on
Yeah.
the podcast. There we are.
Wonderful.
So
Thank
for
you very
people out
much.
there, join in that
Brilliant.
Facebook page. Yeah, the John Price Foundation.
Brilliant.
Join on there. Commit a little bit of money to John, and all the website will be.
Yeah. And I
out
would say,
soon.
Mike, as well as supporting Bowls, we'll be supporting various charities during
Yep.
the year as well.
That's
so
fine.
it could be that
Yeah,
we pick
brilliant.
up cancer or
Yeah.
Alzheimer's or whatever it might
Yeah.
be. Particularly if it's linked to some sort of local bowlers that we know,
Yeah.
you know, at
That's
the
it.
time.
Great, John. You're doing a great job. Thank you, John. Okay. What did I
Let's
get that on?
let's go back now to obviously 80s was the British Isles
Yeah.
decade for you.
Yeah.
And then moving into the 90s, probably your most successful decade of your bowls career, arguing maybe just into the 2000s as well.
Yeah.
First things first, World Indoor Championships,
That's right. Yeah. 1990.
1990
Yeah, that's right.
singles.
Yeah. Preston Guildhall.
We won't dive into that just yet. Let's talk about how that pro journey started for you.
Yeah.
When did you kind of start entering these bowls tours and stuff, and then how did they get to that 1990s win?
Well, the main televised events were run by an organisation called the World Indoor Bowls Council in those days, which was effectively the current British Isles Indoor Bowls Council. But what they did, they formed another organisation, a company, and they had television contracts with BBC and ITV, the Worlds, the Manchester Super Bowl, the UK. So they were running it, and what they used to do was the national tournaments in those days were qualifiers. So I won the national singles in 81, my first indoor national singles win, and that qualified me for the 1982 World Championships, which were at the old Coatbridge Stadium in Glasgow. I played that year in that, and I lost to Willie Wood. So that was my first major go at that. And then I got back in. I won a couple of qualifying events, and I got up, I think, in 86, was it? Or 86. Then I got back into the UK singles at Preston. I think it was the same year Stephen Rees won it.
Right.
I think Stephen won the UK that year, and I lost the quarter final. In those days, it was slightly different. I always remember desperately disappointed that year because I played really, really well. Got to the quarter final, played a very good player, Roy Cutts of England, in the quarter final. And what they used to do, Matthew, they used to, if you were a 7:30 game in the night, you'd play 2 sets, and then they took an interval. So it was in a theatre. They all went downstairs, drinking, whatever, go and see the bookie because they were betting and all that. And then they'd come up. So it was a 25-minute interval, and you'd then come back and play the next 3 sets.
Right.
First 2 sets, I was untouchable. But like having a tea break.
Yeah.
You have a tea
when
break.
I came back, he was like revitalised, and I wasn't quite the same. And he beat me in the 5th set at about 11:20 in the night, 11:30 in the night, put me out. And that, so that,
I'd go in that.
Yeah, disappointing, obviously, because I fancied, and I'd been playing. I think I would have been playing Bryant the following day.
You would have, I believe you would have. Yeah.
And Bryant obviously went, and Stephen beat David in a memorable final. I think Stephen was 4 sets up and got dragged back to 4-all and beat him 5-4 because it was a 9-set final in those days. And so that was and it sort of mushroomed from there. And I knocked around in semi-finals and things, and they had a ranking list, so you used to score points if you had run in the UK, you run in the Super Bowl at Manchester. If you won your national singles, you had ranking points, and I got up on that list.
He's done all the homework. He's got all the ranking lists down here.
That's right. Well, that was the first time they'd done a list, Matthew. The WIBC, I think it was, back in the 80s.
Yeah, we've got ranking history. You've got back obviously to 2001, but we won't jump into that just yet. But obviously the 1990 singles was your first major indoor championship at Potters. It wasn't at Potters.
Preston Guildhall.
No, when did it move to Potters? It wasn't long after they moved.
No, it was a while. It was about 8 years after. Yeah, 8 years after. I mean, Preston was the old UK singles was played there, and when the UK singles disbanded, they kept hold of a major tournament because Courtbridge. What happened was Courtbridge they decided it had become too big for Courtbridge. Yeah. So they went to Ali Pali. They just revamped Ali Pali at that time. Have you ever been to Alexander Palace?
No, I have never. No.
It's on the top of a hill. It's crazy. I'll tell you a story now. Jason Greenslade, who's now out in Guernsey, Jason was a 16, 17-year-old, and he qualified with me. So his mum phones me up. How's he going to get to Alexander Palace? Roy can't go with him. So I said he can come up with me. So we go up on the train. We're staying in the West End of London, and we got to get out to North London. And there's a derby. Arsenal are playing Tottenham on the Sunday, and Jason's just sitting on the train, looking scared to death, with all these football fans. And that was the 80. I think it was 80. Might have been 88. 88. That's right. Because Hugh Duff won it. I think that was his first win. He won it at Ali Pali. So that's where they played there, and then they went to Preston after that.
Right.
Yeah. So it'll be 89 probably. Yeah.
So 1990 first Indoor Bowls Championship as a singles. Then came more success at the Commonwealth Games.
Yes.
So that would have been 94.
Yeah.
With the pairs.
Robert.
And that was Rob Weale.
Yeah, played with Robert in the pairs. Silver medal. Maybe should have been a gold. I haven't spoken long about with Rob, but I think we were a bit unlucky on the day. Lost a close game to the Aussies. Probably for about 12, 13 ends with a better pair. Yeah.
It's usually the case in bowls sometimes, and you just get a bit unlucky, and it just can be.
The game can't always the score doesn't always reflect how the game went sometimes.
Well, we took a 5. I always remember we took a 5 on the first end. Robert will remember this, and we laid a 5 on the second end with 1 ball to go. And Rex Johnson was a good player. Rex had 2 flicks that were a bonus, and got the jack for a 2.
I'm sure he called them edges, right?
But it's small margins, isn't it? And of course, I think we lost. I don't think we lost by many in the end. It was very close, 17-14, something like that, 17-15. But if we'd have gone 10-0 up, we were a good pair. It was going to take somebody to get us back from 10-0 after 2 ends.
The way I look at it, John, a Commonwealth medal.
Yes,
it's a great achievement.
You'll take that going out there definitely. I've been in 90 obviously to the New Zealand games and just missed out. I missed out in the last game. Richard Corsi beat me to get into a medal position. So it was a bonus for me, obviously. But I think Robert would probably say we played well for a large part of that game.
Yeah.
You know, without quite getting over the line. You know. Yeah.
And I obviously, me being 2 years into bowls, I don't know a lot about bowls, but the more I do research, Rob Weale's name comes up all the time.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, you must have bowled against him a lot in your career.
Yes.
So obviously, being able to play with him then in that Commonwealth and win a
Yeah.
medal must
Yeah.
have been quite a relieving.
Yeah.
Well, nice. Obviously, a bit, you know, maybe could have been a goal, but still, silver medal.
I always got on well with Robert. I mean, Robert, we were rivals. We're similar age. Obviously, he's a little bit younger than me. But I've got, you know, always been friends. Our families were friends. You know, we had some great battles. I mean, I won a few, he won a few.
Yeah.
But I total respect for Robert. And for me, the best bowler that Wales has had, in my opinion, overall.
Right. Okay.
Well,
And the numbers show that. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to say that.
He's
And
got so many Welsh
quality
titles.
player, quality player. You know, and for me, I would put him up there at the top of that list. Now, whether somebody else comes along and takes that spot in time, who knows, isn't it? But it'll be difficult because, you know, I think he's got gold, silver, and a bronze in singles at Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
Tough, you know, tough to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would put Robert. Great pleasure to play. I played 3 times in an international series. Played third for him. You know, in back in the end of the 80s as well. So in the outdoors. So I got a lot of respect. And we've always been, you know, close together. We have a bit of banter and whatever. Rivals on the green.
Yeah.
You know, fierce rivals.
Yeah.
You know, he was the man probably that I wanted to beat more than anybody else.
And shouldn't it be that way, John?
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
so. Yeah.
you and back when I was playing and just playing in the small leagues, and you battle on the green.
Yeah.
And then you go and have a laugh and your chats and all after.
That's right. But I got, you know, total respect for Robert. He's been a great ambassador for the game in Wales. You know, tremendous player.
Yeah, and you know, you never talk about Welsh bowling history without mentioning Rob Weale
No,
a few
God,
times.
no.
With
And coming from you, John, that's a great accolade for Robert.
Well, yeah, and he knows I mean that. I mean, you know, I highly respect for him over the years. But there's been a lot of good. I mean, other good. I mean, my best friend really in bowl, Stephen Rees, fantastic player. David Wilkins, the late great David Wilkins, what a player I was, you know, in his peak. So we've been lucky. And William's got a fine record, but just I just put Robert just above all of those, you know, personally. Yeah,
he does hold quite a few Welsh. I was looking at. I was kind of doing research for another thing, and I was looking. I always went on the Welsh bowls thing and just kept through it, and then it just kept going. Rob Weale, Rob Weale, Rob Weale, Rob. And you're just like, yes. And every discipline as well. Singles, triples, pairs.
Well, I had a good run in the Welsh indoor singles in the 90s. You probably checked that. I think I had 4 wins, and I got to the 5th final, and I played Robert in the 5th final, and I was something like on a 55-0 record number of wins, which is, you know, pretty good run, isn't it?
Very good.
And I lost to him on the last bowl. It was 6-all in the final set, televised game, great game, and he beat me on the last bowl. And I tried a bit Hollywood bowl. I tried to take the mat up. It was 6-all. Took the mat up the peg and tried to roll the jack in the ditch with my first bowl to go on top of it. I got it, but I ran away from it. And eventually he drew, I drew, he drew, and he drew, I think, with his 4th bowl to the edge, and it beat me to the edge, you know. But again, a great game, you know, good memories, really. And but yeah, I think, you know, he would be up there, definitely.
Oh, yeah. So, obviously, Commonwealth Games, 94 men's pairs, and then in 98, more success at the Commonwealth Games. This time, silver medal in the singles.
Yeah, not my finest hour in the final. Didn't turn up.
No.
Okay.
Didn't turn up.
Who's that against, John?
It was against really an unexpected player. I knew him, Roy Garden from Zimbabwe. Roy had been on the circuit, but nobody would have picked Roy probably. Unfortunately, Roy passed away, I think, last year.
Okay.
But nobody would have picked Roy to win it. He was in with Tony Alcock and Jeremy Henry, and he just blitzed them all in the section. But in those days, it's slightly different. We played, like, I think it was 13 games in the section.
Yeah.
Right.
And if whoever was top of the section then played each other, and whoever was second played for bronze.
Right.
So what happened really, I beat everybody. I beat Willie Wood. I beat all the big names all the way through. And the final game, I think, last but one game, I lost to the Malaysian, because it was Kuala Lumpur. And I had to beat that. It was Rowan Brassey and myself who were sort of tied in that section for the winner's spot. So I had to beat Rowan in the morning to win. And I was 25 shots up, 19-9 down, and came back to beat him 25-24. Right? 3 hour and 3/4 hour singles game, 102-degree heat with 95% humidity.
Not used to that in Talbot,
No.
John.
Roy Garden was playing Tony Alcock in the last game, and Tony had a shoulder injury because the greens were very heavy out there. And Tony went on after 2 ends and withdrew. So Roy, whether it was good fortune or not, I don't know, but he sat out. I had to go back on and play the final 45 minutes after the semi-final, and I didn't play. You know, Roy played very well, but I just wasn't at it. You know, I think I lost 25-15 or something like that. And sometimes you think, you know, it was a missed opportunity, really. But, you know, good luck to Roy. He played really well and he deserved his win. And I think he was unbeaten over the whole series of games, so you can't take that away.
No.
But, you know, when he went back in the night, I'm thinking, what a chance that was.
It certainly wasn't for Talbot weather, though, was it?
No, and it's not an excuse, but
it would impact,
that semi-final was a huge win because I was really going out to that stage. I wouldn't have even had a medal because I think it was Willie Wood would have passed me, you know, in the group so it was a emotional win that was, you know, second win.
If it was in modern times, if it was now, we would be climatising for that and everything else, wouldn't we? You know, we come far advanced in them sort of aspects of.
Do you know what we did, Mike? Do you know when we went out? I'll tell you. We went out there. Gareth Humphries was team manager in those days. Yeah. Gareth said, "I got training, boys. You know, Gareth said, you've got to get up there now. Cardiff Sports Centre, Sunday morning." We get up there. We're in a steam room on a bicycle, and we were riding a bike. And Di Wilkins was still smoking in those days. Get that fag out of your mouth, Di. You know, and that was the training for it, to get us feeling what it was like in a steam room. But it's amazing. I mean, temperatures are tremendous. I know they're going out there, I think, for the disability championship, but they're playing indoors, I believe.
And one of our very own is going to be going out there, Rob Sawyer.
Exactly,
so we wish him all the best. Yeah. Every player that's going out there, we wish him the best.
I think it's an indoor event, Mike. I think because they're using it as a practice, I think.
Didn't they flip? I think it was the same when they flipped. It was meant to be somewhere else, and then Malaysia took it next year for the indoor.
It's a great place, Malaysia. Fantastic.
Just to match up with more.
It'll be the first indoor. They'll have a cool air conditioning system rather than a heating system.
And also, one of the interesting things out there as well, going off the subject, they pray twice a day in Malaysia because they're a Muslim country. Yeah. So you're on the mat, and the siren all goes, and you can hear the guy in the mosque. You have to stop off the mat, and you stop, and you wait for, you know, it could be the last bowl at the end, 5 minutes for them to pray. Yeah. And then they'll warn you, and you go back on.
The call of praise will come out.
Yeah,
from the
that's
mosque,
right. Which was really interesting for us at first. We didn't know what we were doing, you know. Yeah. But interesting trip.
You know, and especially, you know, you talk about Malaysia as a bowls country. You know, now they've got quite a big bowls kind of culture in Malaysia. You know, I believe I don't know if she still is, but the woman, the Malaysian player. Can't remember her name, but she's world number 1 indoor.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I can't remember the name.
She was in Potters just gone now, wasn't she?
But she's won almost every. Yeah, they are. Apart from Pot, she's won almost everything.
They've come on leaps and bounds since that Commonwealth Games, you know. Yeah.
And I think it was when the champion of champions, the Malaysian president played in it.
Right.
I think. Against Ross.
Right.
I think it was the Malaysian president. It might have been a different country.
I don't know.
I think it was the Malaysian bowls president.
If you've done your research and you got it right, then. But if you've got it wrong,
I'm going off of memory here. I can research it. I can look it up, but I'm not gonna spend 5 minutes doing that.
They love the bowls. They
do. They're massive
really,
on it now.
They're massive,
you know, and obviously, you know, they had it last year. The kids went out. Lauren and who went out? Lauren and
they went to Hong Kong, didn't they?
Was it Hong Kong?
Yeah, that was Rory and not. Oh, Corey Davis.
Corey Davis.
I think they went to Hong Kong.
I think they did.
Talking about different countries, John, which is the nicest culture you find when you've been away, and you've been obviously a few countries. So
if I was playing outdoor bowls, it'd be Australia. Because as a bowler, I think, you know, anybody, if you speak to Ross Owen or Dan Salmon, I mean, fantastic. Clubs outstanding. Greens are just perfect. Not near enough anyway. Facilities are great. I dare say there are some smaller clubs, but some of the clubs that they use for the major events are outstanding. So I think from a bowls point of view, I said to anybody, actually I messaged Christian Crocker because it was his birthday, I think, yesterday, and Christian's going back out, isn't he? I think with his family.
Right, yeah.
And I said, I bet you're enjoying those Aussie greens, you know, and it's a great opportunity for any young bowler. I think if you get the chance to go, I know Dan's been out there, Dan Salmon, but I think if you had a chance to go out for a couple of years, you know, if you're young and you're successful, you take it.
That's kind of where you look at the Australian Open's just finished. That was going on the last 2 weeks. You know, everyone and their mothers playing the Australian Open because, like I said, Australia is the place to be. If you're looking at being the best bowler you can be, 9 times out of 10, people are going to say, if it's outdoors, you go to Australia and you play.
Fantastic. I mean, the opportunities are there. I mean, perhaps, you know, I think if I was a bit younger, we were talking about this, I would say, you know, I might take an holiday and try and play in something out there. But, you know, then you think, well, you wouldn't have played enough to really be able to compete. But it's certainly on the bucket list. I'd love to go back and have a little go out there at some point, even at my stage of my life, you know. But for a young player coming through, I mean, what an opportunity.
Well, I've seen you on the green, John, and you have lost a lot.
Oh, I have lost a lot, but I make up for it other ways. But no, certainly I think, you know, it's a great opportunity for those boys, isn't it? If you get an invite out there. But I mean, I enjoy Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia is a lovely country to visit, but if you're talking purely bowls, I would say Australia.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, back to more success at the World Indoor Bowls. Obviously, 9 years after your World Indoor Singles, you then end up 1999 winning the pairs.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
What was that like for you?
Very good, because me and Stephen had lost the final back in the 80s. Originally, when we first played in it, we lost to Alcock and Bryant at Bournemouth Centre, and we got whitewashed in the final. Alcock had one of his magic nights, 5-0.
Two great players, mind.
They always had
as you are, John. But
they had the sign on us, Mike. I'll be honest with you. We played, you know, Steve will tell you, we played Alcock and Bryant. We played them in one final, I think, and 3 semis, and lost to them every time. Yeah. And then we lost to him and Mervyn in a semi-final as well. The year they won it. So we had a bit of I'd beaten Tony in singles, but couldn't beat him in the pairs. We had a bit of hold. And then we beat Mervyn, and the year we won it, I think, a quarter final, we beat Mervyn and Tony to break the. And I said, coming off to Steve, I said, we can win this now.
This is the year.
Yeah, because
he was
he was there. Well, you know what it's like. You just couldn't beat him. Yeah. And I always remember there was opportunities, you know. But the first final we played, it was this business of, you had an interval afternoon, and then they bring all the sponsors, guests in the night. Yeah. National Centre in Bournemouth and whatever, 2,500 crowd. And we're going in 3-0, and we're playing the final set the afternoon, the 4th set. And I've played 2 bowls. I think it was 4 inches. We were 5 all, 4 inches through, and 5 inches in front for 2. And he's front touched and back touched, Alcock, to beat him.
Wow.
I lost. We were 4-0. I was going back to the room. We were staying in a hotel across the centre. And I said, I'm going to go in the bath. And Steve said, I just want to die and go home. I just laid on the bed. Because you've got to come out now. Realistically, the way he was playing, we weren't going to take 5 sets, Mike. You know what I mean? Yeah. Really probably the toughest game, I would think. Steve would probably say that we had. He was absolutely magnificent. Finest display I've seen with 2 bowls on an indoor carpet. Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. But whitewashed us. But I say, so then going back, and it was at Potters then, obviously we won it in 99, which was a great, for us. Yeah. Yeah. And we went out the following week, we went out to the Irish Masters, because he used to run Irish Masters pairs, and we won that as well. Oh, right. Funnily enough. Yeah, which was a great event at the time. It doesn't show up anywhere.
That's not on my list. No, you didn't research that one.
But it was a super, boys who played in it will tell you, a super event at that time, as there were a lot of good events around, but they've disappeared off the calendar, Yeah. But so we had a good fortnight there, really. Yeah. But it was good. I mean, I've known Steve since we were teenagers, and obviously to win with Steve,
Special.
Well, yeah, we'd won obviously national, we won British Isles, but that was a full set then, isn't it? So sort of the group of wins, really. Yeah.
And then obviously moving on from that pairs, you ended up finding success then in the mixed pairs a few years after that.
Carol Ashby, yeah.
Back to back, I believe.
Yeah.
2005, right. 2006.
Yeah.
Same partner, back to back.
Yes. Yeah.
They usually do the winners stay for one more year, don't they?
Well, it's an invitee event. The thing is with the World Mixed Pairs, plus it's a bit controversial. I enjoyed winning it, obviously. But strictly, it should be more open, and more qualifiers. It's very restricted to top 16 players and certain women invited. But it's a good event when you're there. Yeah. But I think they could do a lot more with it personally. You know, moving forward. But I played with Carol, was a great player. I mean, I think she lives in Australia now. Carol, she doesn't bowl at all. But she was a bit of the golden girl at the time. And what was funny was my Caris was in primary school. So I'm down at Potter's and my mum and dad were picking Caris up from primary school. Might have been, she hadn't gone to comp at that time, primary school. And she gets home and Carol Ashby's on the front of one of the papers with just a blazer and not a lot on underneath.
Right, okay.
She was like, they were pushing her as the golden girl. And Caris says, look at that. God, and I won't say what she said. What's Mommy gonna say when she sees her daddy's playing with her? Like, you know, and it was so funny. Like, I took some stick over that. But Carol was great to play, great player, you know. But they were pushing her as this image, you know, at the time. But we won twice, and she was superb. I mean, from a point of view, lead-in, great, you know. Had a armchair job really with her to get through. But really outstanding bowler. You know?
Yeah, Ken always says your front end wins games, your back end by how many.
Yeah,
and anytime I get a chance to say that, I will bring it up because you know, when you talk about, you know, having a lead at that level and they just like on it constantly. Like I said, it's almost like an armchair. You just kind of you don't really need you still need to play pretty solid, but you don't really need to do.
Well, she won the singles I think the same time down there. She was pretty dominant, and then she emigrated. She went out to Australia. She had a job out there. And I don't think she's bowled since. I met her out there. I took Scottish boys out for a test series when I was coaching up in Scotland, and she came over to the club, and I was talking to her then, but she seemed to be very settled then. But Carol was a top player, you know.
Yeah, we got so much still to talk about.
Yeah, so before, obviously that, you know, when that was kind of the last of what I've got in terms of the big ones for you. Obviously 2006. Obviously you carried on playing for a few years after that, making a couple of quarters and semis again. But you know, from there on, when kind of those later years, kind of where you were playing still, you know, obviously in Potters, and I know you're still at a very high level, but in terms of the circuit stuff, when did you realise, okay, maybe it's time I step away from the circuit and just kind of go a little bit more in a different direction?
I would say, I mean, you've seen thing. I would say between 1990 and 2002, that was my best period.
Yeah, I think.
I think I won Welsh singles five times. I lost a final. I lost 2 Welsh outdoor singles final. I won a big event outdoors, Woolwich Masters in Scotland, which doesn't run now, beat a top field. I got the Commonwealth Games final, obviously. So I had a really, really good run. From about 2002, 2003, I just felt it started to dip. I think I might have made a final, was it 2006 against Foster?
Yep.
And played pretty good. Actually, probably over the game, I could have easily have won that. I think we drew the first set and I lost on the last bowl in the second set.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a very close game. But I felt it myself, I wasn't as consistent and the motivation perhaps wasn't quite there as it had been, you know. Whereas I'd be on the green all the time. I would take it or leave it now. You know, I might go down for practice, I might not, which you can't do at the top level. No. You've got to be dedicated.
You have, yeah.
You know, and in terms of obviously, you're talking about the dedication level and how you know even by then you were probably doing quite a bit outside of bowls or within other bowls communities, and like you said, it just gets too much almost, and it can affect you on the green.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I was a civil servant from school, 17 years, and then Richard Corsi, who was a well-known player, had bought a Henslide distributor, Douglas Ken, which was based in, and I worked for Richard then for a number of years. I was on the road for Richard, sales, about 600 accounts across the country. Yeah. So I was doing work for Richard. I was picking up commentary. In addition to doing some playing, I was chairman of the Professional Bowls Association, so I was getting called to meetings and whatever. And I think it became 24/7 bowls. Yeah. And I think that might have been, if I could have lived that again, and there's no regrets, I would have said, I'm just going to concentrate for the next 6-7 years still on the bowling. Yeah. But I didn't. I was sort of here, there, everywhere, doing this, doing that, doing this. And it does affect you.
And manage your family as well.
And manage your family as well. My game wasn't as good. I finished outdoors because of it in 2000. I was 39. So, you know, I could have played on. I was still quite young.
That is young.
I quit international bowls after the 2000 World Championships. And then I played a couple more years indoor, but you know, I didn't really have the same motivation international wise. I haven't played for a number of years, but it's the choices you make, isn't it?
It is,
you know, and you can't regret things. And I've enjoyed. I mean, enjoyed the commentary, going to Australia to do Commonwealth games with Corky and stuff. It was great, you know, and that's fine.
And for me, you know, I'm not ever known you until a couple of years ago, coming to Port Talbot. You were the voice of bowls for me, you know, and that was.
I don't think Corky would be happy with that.
Well,
no, I don't think he'd be happy with that.
You've got nice dulcet tones.
Oh gosh, no, we got on well. I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, I worked for a bit with Dougie Donnelly, who you'll know through the golf and whatever. Excellent guy, and I think you pick up certain things. I mean, Dougie always said, you know, less is more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes people are over talking all the time, whereas I prefer if I'm just a second voice to come in. If you ask me a question, I'll come in, or I'll step aside and leave you carry on if you're the main commentator. So I learned a lot like that, and I used to enjoy it. You know, and I thought I worked quite well with Corky. And most of the time, if there was any criticism, he got it, not me, thankfully. But I think, you know, I enjoyed all of that, and obviously that was good. You know, good to be part of that.
So I'm still looking at the Potters results and indoor bowl stuff. I didn't realise this, and you probably don't know this either. You're still 10th on the list of people with the most finals appearances in the singles.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. With four finals appearances in the singles.
Actually, that's wrong. I'll tell you that now.
With 5.
At 5. Yeah.
Where would that put him then?
Yeah. That would put him up again.
Yeah, I'm not creating that as a credit. I lost 4 finals, so I'm not too pleased about that. But I did play in 5 because I lost to Robert in 2000. I lost to Ian Shoeback in 92 after winning in 90. And I lost to Tatty Marshall, and to Paul Foster. Not 4 pretty decent names, so you know what I mean, to lose 2, but I did lose 4.
But to get to 5 isn't bad, John, is it?
No, and you know, I had a good run, so you know, it would have been nice to maybe just win one of them. You know, one of the other 4, but it wasn't to be.
Right, we will dive back into the commentating, obviously, because that was a big part of your kind of after bowls. Like, you know, we talked about you know stepping away from the tour as a player. You were still obviously very highly. Still in the kind of the what do you call it, the environment of that, you know, tour through commentating. Obviously, I believe you were the PBA vice chairman for a while as well.
I was chairman for a while. Yeah, I took over from Richard Corsi when he finished. So I was chairman. I was a director of World Bowls Tour, which is a company that we took over from WIBC, which should have been a 3-way arrangement moving forward. That was what it was penciled in to be. But then World Outdoor Body pulled away, and eventually WIBC pulled away, and PBA has been left on its own. And I think that's to the detriment of the World Bowls Tour. You know, I think if players were never going to be taking it over. It was meant to be a tripartite arrangement. And we wanted to get up to about 5 events in the UK and 5 abroad. And we got up to 5 at one stage, but we could never get the interest outdoors because we didn't have the major bodies like the World Outdoor at the back end. And it fell away badly then. And eventually Nigel Oldfield, who was the CEO, resigned, and I came out of it at the same time. And they lost a couple more events then, and things haven't gone well. But they are sort of rebuilding a bit at the moment, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the success, obviously, at Potter's still going quite strong, and you know, you got your Guernsey Open that they do a lot in Guernsey, and the Scottish Open that happens just before. That's all now being put on YouTube for people to actually watch and see. And
Fate, you were talking about Fate earlier, and I'll tell you a story here. We went down to Gerrard's Cross. We had a contact, me and Richard, with a guy called Douglas Harrison, big friends with Lou Grade. He was a theatre impresario, masses of money. And actually, we went to a house of a man called Eric Smith, whose son, Kirk Smith, is now the manager of England Outdoor Bowls.
Right. Really?
And we played a charity event at Gerrard's Cross, and we got to know this Dougie Harrison. And Richard and him got on like a house on fire, considering Richard swore at him all the time, and he was very, very posh.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is the background of it. I think he was godfather to Michael Grade.
Right.
Michael Grade was the head of Channel 4, and they had a sponsor in for £500,000 for a televised event. Outdoors in Blenheim Palace. Under floodlight in the middle of the summer. Everything was in place. There'd be 32 players, and about 2 months before, Michael Grade got the push from Channel 4. I don't know if you remember, it was a big thing. He either resigned or got the push.
Yeah.
And everything fell apart. And where we had momentum at that time, because the UK singles was going, we had a few events going on, that would have been really another big event.
Yeah.
As an outdoor event as well. Momentum just fell away after that.
Yeah.
And Richard sort of, he had other business interests. Richard came out, I went up to chairman, and we never really kicked on from that stage. And so it could be, had that gone ahead, who knows?
Could have been a different bowls.
Gives bowls a different view of the sport and everything. But it never happened. It was talked about, it was planned, but it never got off the ground.
I think at the moment now as well, you look back at obviously what you tried to do back then, obviously not quite getting what we were hoping for in the sport, but you look at now, and I feel like there's almost a good time now for someone else now to try and do the same thing. You talk about Australia, they've just opened up a new bowls broadcasting studio pretty much to broadcast all their events in Australia, and you talk the indoor outdoor conflict and not quite merging. England have just merged their indoor outdoor. Obviously we're very hopeful that the rest of the UK can follow suit, and that might then open the avenue then in order for us to say, well, listen, now we're just bowls. We're not indoor outdoor, we're just bowls.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's crack on.
That was the theory with WBT. That's what we always, Richard always said it was, he visualized it, Richard Corkhill, as a European Golf Tour. He said that WBT is not there for anything. It's not going to run grassroots bowls, but it'll be the marketing arm that they'll work through us to sell the game worldwide. Yeah. So rather than Scotland going to a sponsor, England going to a sponsor, Ireland going, we'd all be under the same ban now. We'll all get revenues back and whatever, and we'll all build from there. That was the sort of perfect world. Yeah. But it never really became that, unfortunately. You know, and that. And since then, it's been sort of fragmented again. So I think there's hopes there that it'll move forward a bit more now.
Do you think outdoor and indoor? This is just a personal. Obviously, don't have to answer. But do you think indoor and outdoor got a chance to merge in the next year or two?
It'll be difficult.
You think so?
Yeah, I think.
And we're talking about in Wales now, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be difficult. Okay. Yeah, I know the indoor men and ladies have come together, but I think it'll be difficult. Yeah. I think there's baggage going back a while there.
Yes,
I'm not really involved now.
And it's a personal view. It's not
a personal view, and it doesn't mean if it does and it works well, great. But I think it'll be difficult. Very difficult.
You look at obviously the players we've got now. A lot of the names you see on the outdoor list, they play in for Wales in the indoor. Yeah, you know, and it would make, I think, more sense nowadays. Especially moving forward, England have done it. You see it working in Australia, do it as well. Hopefully having it, even if it's in 5 years' time, at least try and get that going. Cause,
but I think it'll benefit everybody. I mean, you've got to be singing from the same hymn sheet. I think that's one of the problems. I mean, TV has changed so much as well. I mean, people talk about streaming, and streaming is great, but obviously the golden ticket is
getting on TV.
Is getting on TV. Terrestrial obviously is big. WPT have still got the world singles. Obviously, perhaps they need to do more with it. Yeah, in my opinion. But you need those sort of contracts.
I don't think, and I don't mean this nasty to Potters. I don't think it encourages more televised events because it's still very a little bit old style. School, as in it's very quiet there. There's no atmosphere. You compare that to something going on in Australia and they're like chalk and cheese.
I think it's a fair criticism. The only thing I would say, without Potters, they would have struggled because there's nobody else out there.
And give them all the credit in the world.
But you're right what you're saying, Mike. They need to look at something. So you could have Potters the World Championships, and maybe that could be. But you could have other events with running a different way, more music, more action.
Yeah, and it's for youngsters coming in.
Exactly.
So we got to encourage. If we don't get youngsters into the game, I think the game will die.
I think Potters only has that criticism because, like you said, there's nothing else being televised. If you had something like you watch something like, I talked about already, Australian Open, you won't see. You don't often get music in the Australian Open. You get the spectators. They'll all clap. They'll all be cheering stuff, and you'll have a little bit more enthusiasm. But it's still fairly, stifled.
I'll tell you one thing you don't see it. Probably if you go to Potters and watch it live, and the pre sort of match things that go on, it's a little bit more lively.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But BBC are very traditional.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that because I've worked for BBC televised in a certain way, you know, so they don't go the big razzmatazz as much as maybe Sky and all this, you know. But Potters, Potters is catering for the people in January who go in there for the bowls breaks, who predominantly tend to be retired.
Yeah.
With a few bob in their pocket.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't blame them for that.
No.
You know?
No.
But it is right. It creates a certain audience there.
Yeah, it does,
you know?
Yeah.
That's
and,
right.
and that's all I am. I'm not criticising
No,
because
that's right.
we're hoping to get Mike and Clive on at some stage to talk about their experience of Potters.
That's right.
And to push people, you know, because it's a great package, so I'm told.
And they're great. I mean, I worked for Potters for 2 years as a sales thing after I left Richard, and to be honest with you, they're a great company, great family, you know, and they really love the bowls or whatever. But you're at the end of the day, they're running a business, so they're going to do what suits them.
And just like a little bit more noise in that.
Exactly, But that could happen. They can do, you know, that can be done.
Yeah.
I think, as you say, they need to tweak it a little bit.
And just small steps. You know, we don't need to make big steps.
No,
just take it small steps at a time, just to get it to the level that they want it. I just think would encourage more youngsters because it's on the main terrestrial television.
They're doing and you know, obviously the big criticism is very quiet in Potters, but they're doing a lot to still actually make bowls a little bit more enjoyable to watch. You talk about like shot clock. I think shot clocks are
I'm not a big fan of that. See?
No,
I'm not. Why do you like the shot clock?
I think it just makes games go a little bit quicker. You know, obviously they get the 2 timeouts, so I don't think with the timeouts it's too much. And again, the quality of players that go there, they're not going to take too long.
He's not a good interviewer, John, because I'd have turned that around. John, why don't you like
he's
the
I'll tell you why that I don't then.
Go on then,
the reason I don't, you get your 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm playing you, and immediately I bowl my ball and ball comes to stop. I've got to retire, obviously, because your 30 seconds is kicking in now. Now, what that stops is interaction with the crowd, the very thing that you've just said.
Okay.
Back in the day, if I did something and I've done it, I've fallen on the green on my back or I've jumped the barrier and sat in the crowd, right? And suddenly the arenas are up there or whatever and everybody's laughing, even my opponent's having a laugh, you know?
Yeah.
And it's happened to me as well from
and
other
that's
players.
what we're talking about, John,
But I didn't think of it that way.
It's very clinical. Do you know what I mean when I say clinical? It's bowl your wood, go up, bowl your wood, go up. You take that interaction. Now, what you need to do is encourage people to play quickly. Yeah. So that's where your umpire comes in and says the quiet word, you're hanging around too much. You know?
Okay.
You're hanging around too much. You do that again, I'm going to penalise you.
I honestly didn't think of it that way. I think that, you know, especially... And I like it. You know, we talked about it before the podcast. You know, I went up to Aberavon and I played in the triples. You know, something like that. You have 9 ends, 2 wood triples, or an hour. Yeah. You know, there's obviously no shot clock. Yeah. You have a bit of fun. Yeah. You know, maybe not so much the shot clock. I think the shot clock worked well just purely because, you know, we have a criticism sometimes with outdoor bowls that it's too long. Yeah, that's right. Right, and bowls games can be too long.
Yeah. We have to apologise to them dogs barking in the back.
I know they want. You fed them as well, Mike, before we started. Yeah.
So
but you know what I mean. Like, so I thought, you know, looking at the shot, but I didn't think of it that way. But you raised up a really good point.
Again,
that's and you know, we play on a Saturday. We play in the 4 rinks, traditional Saturday afternoon game. Yeah. And we're walking up and down the rink, and we're having a bit of banter with people on the side and what have you.
That's right.
And I never thought of it that way.
That's actually a really good point.
But I think it does take away from the players, so you don't get personality coming through as much then.
But it's only good if the players show their personality.
Yes,
then,
that's right.
That's the
definitely.
Thing, you know, that's the question.
That's right.
I'm going to interrupt you there because I know we're going on and there's still a lot, but we're going to go to driving questions.
Okay.
Because we got some fun. We're going to break it up and we're going to go to some driving questions. I'm going to give you the pleasure of asking Mr. Price these questions.
So, if you are unaware, driving questions are our way to break up the conversation, keep it light-hearted. So, there are 5 questions we've pre-arranged, quick fire, nothing too crazy. Some are bowls related, some are non-bowls related, just to get to know you a little bit more. So we just talked about player personality.
It's actually drawing questions because they've taken so long.
It is drawing questions now. I keep calling it driving questions because it's still meant to be our thing. But so are you ready?
Yes.
So 5 questions, quick as you can. Right. Question number 1: what's your favourite green you've ever played on?
That would be the Swansea Indoor Bowls Club at the old leisure centre.
Okay. Number 2: if you could give one piece of advice to young bowlers, what would it be?
Keep your feet on the ground.
Okay.
Number 3, what's your favourite part of a Sunday dinner?
Or the roast, the beef, definitely.
You beef man, you
Yeah,
John.
beef man.
Number 4, who's the toughest opponent you've played?
Welsh or overall?
Anyone?
Overall, I would say Tony Alcock.
And then we will ask you for the Welsh one as well.
Robert
Then.
Weale would be my Welsh one.
Okay. And number 5, what is your favourite title you've won?
I would say winning the British Isles pairs with my dad was a big one because of the emotional thing of winning with each other. So that was a big one. That would give me probably as much pleasure.
There we are. That's our driving
and that's
questions.
the
That is the
drawing questions.
The quickest driving questions we've done so
John,
far.
you on the stop clock. You would have beaten that clock, right?
Yeah. Well, we had Nicky Jones on our first one, and he stopped in halfway through to talk about ice cream.
He phoned a friend, did he?
No, talk about ice cream. Oh, he's a boy. Okay, so where are we back? So we've talked about that and there.
Talked about a lot. I want to mention, obviously you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but you spent a year obviously as Scotland's high performance coach in 2018.
I did, yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
What was that like? Obviously, again after
you turn coach, John. Go to Scotland.
Not do anything for money, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, we all, John.
Yeah, I was offered the position. Originally, it was a one position, but it turned out it wasn't because the lady was a curler, came in as a high performance manager. So they split the role then. So rather, David Corkhill did it. He was sort of all encompassing, where I was just purely on the coaching background, and handling the team. Good experience. Difficult. How can I say this? I've got a great time in Scotland over the years. I played a lot of bowls. Used to play Dundee Masters, Scottish Masters at Coatbridge. Know a lot of Scottish people. Get on well with them. I think it was always going to be difficult coming from the outside in.
Yeah.
The culture of bowls is obviously different in Scotland.
But we did okay. I mean, I took them to the Atlantic Rim the first year, which was a qualifier for World Bowls, and the men topped. The ladies were in a state of flux, if you like. They hadn't done well in the 2014 games, though they'd been very successful. It was men only. David hadn't had much success with the ladies. I changed a couple of the ladies' team, which maybe didn't go down well.
Yeah.
Brought a couple of new faces in. And we did quite well. They won the fours gold at the Atlantic Rim, and then Leslie Doig went on, but I didn't go to New Zealand for the World because I'd already resigned at that point. Leslie went on and won a silver to Karen Murphy in the singles. So there was a couple of, obviously I think I was justified in what I'd done there.
Yeah.
I didn't probably spend enough time to see how I could do it. It was easy managing the men because when you got Marshall, Foster, Burnett, Stuart Anderson, you just send them out and they do the business.
You do that.
As long as they're happy, they'll play well for you.
Yeah.
The women was more challenging. I did work hard with the women, and I think George Snedden was my number 2 ex-Scottish international. George will tell you, I did work a lot with the women, and I think they did improve in that short period I was there. They had a bit more cohesion about them, and they did quite well. And we took them out to Australia and New Zealand as like preparatory events. But then I didn't take them into the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
For various reasons, I resigned sort of 2 years into the contract.
Is there something that you would ever like to do something like that with Wales, John, or has that sort of boat sailed a bit?
Yeah, I think it has sailed now.
Yeah.
I also think with the younger players coming in, you probably need somebody from the next generation afterwards.
Yeah. And currently, I think Anwen was on the last episode. Anwen's doing some that type of role with Chris Ashman.
Yes, which Anwen has only just stopped playing, really, hasn't she? At that level, she's still playing good bowls, but she doesn't play at that level now. Whereas my international career virtually was 2000. I'm 25 years. There's people in that team weren't even born when I played. So whether I'd have the same sort of respect, I don't know. So the thing is, it's difficult. I mean, I knew a lot of the Scottish guys, so we got on great. But sometimes you have to do things that are not popular. And sometimes that is quite hard. I enjoyed the experience. There's a lot of bureaucracy there. I mean, I used to have to go to meetings in Stirling with Sports Scotland, and I'd have all these dossiers and whatever, and I'd have to face 25 people, including the head of Sports Scotland, and they'd all fire questions, where are you doing this? Because they were very professional. I mean, I've told people, Scotland, they had a app on their phone, so they could tell if Stuart Anderson hadn't been to the gym on that Tuesday. Well, if Stuart Anderson didn't go to the gym on that Tuesday, I got the kick in the pants. Because obviously it falls on me. So all things like that, it was a bigger job than just getting them on a bowling green.
Yeah.
You know, and it was interesting just to see that way that way. I mean, I took two youngsters out to the World Cup, which was in Warilla. And everybody, this is what they were throwing at Bowl Scotland. Everybody was staying on chalets at the club, because they've got all these little chalets at the club. No, we didn't. We had a penthouse on the cliff about a mile away, automatic windows, jacuzzis.
Really?
Right? For 3 of us. Unbelievable. I mean, they were throwing that kind of cash
at development.
You know, and I don't know if that was good, man, for the two, because they felt a bit out of it.
Yeah.
You know, people were going, oh, look at them, you know, and that. But you know, it's different. It's a different world. They were throwing at that time a lot of money at bowls in Scotland.
It's kind of a fine line, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, you talked about it, taking them away from where everyone else is going to be staying, and you get that kind of experience of meeting different people from around the world, and they just lobbed into this penthouse off, you know, a mile away, and they're like, well, what can we do? And then people are looking at them like, well, you know, it's a fine line between, obviously, you know, I know they have the money.
I'm still
to
trying
do
to
that,
process that to see in my head, is that a good thing or not a good thing?
Because it's very difficult.
I can see why they were thinking that.
Yeah.
But from the youngster's point of view, and not feeling part of that process, would have been better there. And you know,
it's all part of the experience.
You put them on a pedestal before you even start.
Yeah, that's right. I think.
However, is that in the mind games?
Yeah.
Is that sometimes might be is that a good thing?
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to it.
I mean, they were in the Commonwealth Games. I know when David Corkhill, and they were in a hotel in Glasgow, and they had all training facilities, so you could get on a bike and all this in the facility. They had the floor to themselves and all of that, you know. So they were getting their own special food. So you know, they were very well prepared at that time. Yeah. Whether it is now, I don't know, but they were throwing a lot of cash in it. Obviously, some players were benefiting from that as well. Yeah. So there was a lot of plus points, but as you said, for youngsters coming through, they weren't getting the all experience out of mixing in.
That's right.
And they were put on a pedestal. Maybe that wasn't what was required at that time.
You certainly didn't get that from Wales when you first started international.
No, we were lucky if we got an hotel room or whatever. But it's different. I mean, that was a good experience to be up there for 2 years, but it was a tough job, because I was up there a lot, wasn't coming home a lot. As well with the family. And
I mean, that's obviously a difficult, you know, difficult.
And Mum and Dad were that was part of the reason. Mum and Dad were ill at the time. Anne's father had died. Anne's mother was disabled. Okay. And there was a lot of pressure. We were only children, so you know, it was difficult.
You know, we haven't spoken about her. About, obviously, we've read the name as Anne. Yeah. Been a huge backbone for you, John, over the years.
Yeah, definitely.
Been a huge backbone for you.
That's right. Doesn't play bowls, which probably works well.
Works a little bit nicer.
Yeah, that's right.
And doesn't want to know about bowls when you get home either, does she?
She's interested, and she likes to come. She hasn't come much recently, but she used to like to come to Preston and all that and different things. Never came to a Commonwealth Games, but certainly those sort of televised events, she'd enjoy coming to the final stages if I was involved, you know. And she was great. One thing with Anne was, it didn't matter. I mean, I played Stephen in a semi-final of the World Bowls, and Anne would be cheering for Stephen as much as me. Yeah. You know, she's very good that way. Yeah. Sometimes you think you look out there sometimes and people are very, very one-eyed, you know. But she enjoys the sport, but she's never wanted to play, you know, and that probably helps.
I am going to ask a favour, John. I'm going to bring this to an end because we could go on forever, but I am going to ask you to come back next year to talk about the current crop of Welsh players we've got and where we're going with them, if you wouldn't mind, and have a think about next year, because I wanted today to be about you. Okay, you know, that's fine. And it's lovely to talk to you. Yeah, I could stay here for another hour and 10 minutes.
I could listen to all of those
and talk and carry on. But I think to get the benefit of it, come back if you can, if you will, come back and talk about some other subjects on a game of sport.
Wonderful.
But thank you so much for coming.
No, that's a pleasure. Pleasure, guys, being here. Yeah. And I wish you well with this project.
Well, it is a project. So again, if you're listening, watching, subscribe on YouTube. That's going to really help us out. Don't forget, John Price Foundation on Facebook. We're also on Facebook, Bowls Breakdown Podcast. Follow both of them and support John's foundation. John Price, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, John.
Cheers, guys.
No worries.